Rogue is commonly associated with the movie X-Men. She is a mutant with the ability to absorb superpowers and strength and remove the memories just by a gentle kiss. Literally, she found out about her powers when the boy she kissed fell into a permanent coma. But just with skin contact, you can say goodbye to your powers and possibly your life. Due to her skin uncontrollably projecting high voltage jolts, for most of her life she limited her physical contact with others. It was only after many years Rogue gained full control over her superpowers.
In the comics, Rogue was able to absorb a large portion of the mutant Sunflower's solar absorption-based powers due to her own abilities, with coming in contact with him. Therefore, in addition to these natural abilities, Rogue was then able to project intense heat and flame, and she was able to see in the infrared spectrum. When talking about the first point, we note that there are two types of energy transfer reactions, an endothermic reaction and an exothermic reaction. The equation used to calculate energy transfer in these reactions is Q, the heat, equals mc delta T, where m is the mass of the person, c is the heat capacity of the human body, and delta T is the change in average body temperature. So, the mass of Rogue is approximately 54.43 kilograms, and for C, the average heat capacity of the human body is approximately 3,500 joules per kilogram at normal conditions. And T is the average body temperature, which is 310.15 K, minus the temperature of fire, which is about 2,933.15 degrees Celsius. Therefore, the difference results in about 2,623 Kelvin. Therefore, when we plug these numbers into the equation, we find that approximately 500 million joules of energy are transferred to Rogue when she uses her powers. Energy absorption can be quantified, therefore, through thermodynamics, where you can discuss any change in the internal energy of a system is given by the sum of the heat that flows across its boundaries and the work done by the system on the surroundings. So this law says there are two types of processes, heat and work, that can lead to a change in the internal energy of the system. Since both heat and work can be measured and quantified, this is the same as saying that any change in the energy of the system must result in the corresponding change in the energy on the surroundings outside the system, which means Rogue is actively cooling the air around her when she uses her powers by taking about 500 million joules from the outside. Again, going back to her original powers, she was able to see in the infrared spectrum. Connecting this to the electromagnetic spectrum, the normal human can only see in the visible wavelengths. However, since Rogue can see in the infrared spectrum as well as the visible spectrum, this gives her a wider range of wavelengths that her eyes can perceive. A study has shown that it is possible for human eyes to see infrared light, although only under certain conditions, so Rogue's abilities in this sense aren't extremely far-fetched.
Rogue has the superpower to obtain energy with skin contact. This relates to genetic absorption. When Rogue touches someone, her genetic makeup of what she can do is replaced with any power that she received from the former. Scientists can achieve that in the lab. They can insert individual genes for specific traits directly into an established genome. These scientists can control the way in which these genes express themselves in the new variety of plant or animal. By homing in on desired traits, molecular gene transfer can shorten the breeding time for new varieties. In the laboratory, scientists can move individual genes between organisms that capitalize on naturally occurring mechanisms of gene transfer, including uptake of DNA by cells and cell-to-cell transfer of packaged genetic material. Rogue can manipulate her own genes to mimic specific traits that the person she touches has. Rogue's powers could also be explained through molecular absorption. Molecular absorption is the ability to mimic the molecular structure of any material they come in physical, skin-to-skin contact with. The user can then cause features or adaptations from that material to manifest in a biological version within the user. This means that every cell that Rogue has in her body are stem cells. Stem cells are cells that have the capacity to develop into specialized populations of cells. So, when Rogue touches someone, her body sends signals to each cell, maturing to any cell type the body needs.
In the area of the brain, the amount of stress that Rogue's brain takes from intaking other people's personalities and memories can kill brain cells, which has a shrinking effect on her prefrontal cortex and can disrupt her synapse regulation, which can cause a loss of social interactions and overall social ability, as well as causing a loss of memory and brain development issues, as well as those problems she's caused herself. Every time she tries to take another person's personality or memories, she will most likely develop a form of PTSD because of how her brain is reacting to conflicted personalities. In the area of body science, the things she is putting her body under, such as her brain stress stimuli and the fights she goes through, can be detrimental to herself and others as she tries to recover from her battles. However, she can also absorb not just the superpowers of other mutants, but their physical characteristics as well. She can change her appearance, such as her hair color, skin tone, eye color, as well as her own physical limitations, as she can also gain physical strength from others. But in doing so, if she tries to gain the physical strength of others, she will most likely be drained from not just the amount of energy used, but because of how much her actual body can take. If it were possible to take others' physical limits, she would put an immense strain on herself, most likely causing her body to put herself into an induced coma.
Now, let's get to the technical stuff. As previously mentioned in chemistry, energy, which is heat, is transferred from Sunfire to Rogue. The same thing basically happens in the movie when Rogue is accidentally stabbed by Wolverine, stimulating her fight or flight response to absorb Wolverine's power to heal, which was previously mentioned in the biology section, mimicking the molecular structure of that gene trait. As we look close into the scene when Wolverine is touched by Rogue, immediately we can see that his face turns into a red-purplish tone, with veins appearing all over his body, alongside with bruises and veins appearing on Rogue's back as well. This is done by the use of VFX, visual effects. It is basically imagery created, manipulated, or enhanced for any film or other moving media that cannot take place during live-action shooting. Visual effects is the integration between actual footage and this manipulated imagery to create realistic-looking environments for the context. In this case, it would be making Rogue's absorption process to look believable. These environments created are either too dangerous to actually shoot or worlds that just don't exist. They use computer-generated imagery, CGI, in particular VFX software, to make it happen. CGI is the creation of still or animated visual content with the imaging software. CGI is accomplished through various methods. The use of algorithms to generate fractals, for example, can produce complex visual patterns. Other methods include painting in a 2D pixel-based image editor and creating shapes to make images, as in vector-based image editor. To make the scene appear real, animators have to add lighting, texture, color, and more.
According to the comics, Rogue is able to lift up to 100 tons. In order to compare this to reality, we can calculate the amount of work that Rogue puts into the object and compare that to the average woman. The formula for the amount of work is W equals F times D, where W is the amount of work, F is the force you put into the object, and D is the distance you're exerting the force over. So, in this equation, F can be further simplified into M times G, where M equals the mass of the object, and G equals the acceleration due to gravity. In this equation, we know that G equals 9.8 meters per second squared, since Rogue is human on Earth. So, we know that M is 100 tons, or 91,000 kilograms, and the D, according to the comics, her height is 68 inches, or 1.73 meters. Plugging this all into our equation, we find that Rogue exerts a force of approximately 1.5 million joules when she lifts an object of 100 tons. In contrast, for the average woman, the mass that an average woman can lift is approximately 50 pounds, or 22.68 kilograms, and D, the distance or height of an average woman, is 64 inches, or 1.63 meters. Plugging these values into the same equation, the average woman exerts a force of 362 joules when she lifts a 50-pound object. Therefore, Rogue possesses approximately 4,300 times the strength of an average woman, which is extremely strong.